This is a piece of modern art, yet its image would have been as recognisable and as powerful to a medieval onlooker as it is to us. Unlike this sculpture, though, a piece of contemporary music would strike our medieval ancestors as shockingly alien and bizarre. Of all art forms, it's Western European music that has become so utterly different and separate from its equivalents in other cultures, taking during the Christian Middle Ages an unprecedented and decisive turn. In this series, I'm going to look at 5 of the great breakthroughs that European music has experienced in its extraordinary history, 5 momentous moments of discovery. I also want to show what they mean to us today, at a time when so-called classical music is being absorbed into a much bigger mainstream, and when its 1,000-year reign seems to be coming to a close. Imagine a world without music. A world without Handel's Messiah or Mozart's Requiem, without Beethoven's symphonies, without Carmen, Duke Ellington, or the Verve's urban hymns. The Big Bang that made possible the astonishing scope and richness of European music was the invention of notation, the technique of writing music down. In this film, I'm going in search of the medieval musicians who took that first momentous step 1,000 years ago. We're looking down a corridor of time. At the other end of it are a handful of monkish scribes and harassed librarians trying to record on pig and sheepskin parchment, in the frozen silence of the Dark Ages, the learning and civilization bequeathed to them by the Romans. They live in a barbaric and illiterate age. It is the era of grim bastard and rapacious yob. To the east lies the exotic grandeur of the Byzantine Empire, to the south a confident and sophisticated Islam. The culture of Western Europe, on the other hand, is at a dangerously low ebb. In the monasteries of the first Christian millennium, the only music they had left from the Roman period were the memorized chants of Gregorian plainsong. The preservation of chant through a purely oral tradition for so long against such heavy odds was nothing short of miraculous. Then, in around 1000 AD, a great leap was made from memory to the page. Music began to be written down. A thin trickle of notes became a river, then a flood. So much music of such diversity came bursting forth that it's scarcely possible to believe that it all stems from a dramatic breakthrough made by just a few monks all those centuries ago. The fact that our music can be easily written down is fundamental to its success and spread. None of the world's other musical cultures have ever developed a comparable notation. This is the beginning of a unique story. Whenever European culture tried to reinvent itself, it looked to the culture of ancient Greece. The Greeks loved music as we do and had plenty of it. Unfortunately, though, they didn't have a reliable method of writing their music down. So although various abstract textbooks survived, monastic musicians of the Dark Ages didn't have a clue what Greek music actually sounded like. Amazingly, this didn't stop them trying, through painful trial and error, to build a musical system based on the Greeks' theories. It was as if they were deep-sea divers searching for some hidden shipwreck with only the ship's original design drawings to go on and no indication at all as to which ocean to begin the search in. Culturally and musically speaking, it must have felt to those medieval monks as if they were operating in a kind of void. What they did have was plain chant, which had developed, like Christianity itself, from Judaism. This thin flame is Europe's only living, continuous musical link with the centuries before Christ. The Abbey of Sant'Antimo was founded in the 8th century, and monks still sing here at least twice a day, as they did then. This isn't just pleasing mood music, though, as it's so often perceived today, nor a sort of soothing aromatherapy for the ears. Plain chant is, and was in the Middle Ages, the musical expression of Christian faith. It isn't a woolly spiritualism, but the actual words of the Mass, the Psalms, the hymns, and the Scriptures. What it constituted was a vast mental library of melodies to cover every service for every day of the year. In the 7th century, Pope Gregory the Great, hence the name Gregorian chant, ordered a codification of the entire chant repertoire, so that the whole territory of Christian Europe should sing from the same hymn book, as it were. Now this sounds a lot easier than it was. Though they had the words written down, these poor monks had to keep in their heads all the music, which meant that every note of every chant had to be taught parrot fashion. We're talking here of something like 80 hours worth of music, the equivalent of memorizing the complete works of Beethoven and Wagner put together without the help of music notation. I wonder how modern church musicians would cope with that kind of challenge. To find out, I plunged the choir of Salisbury Cathedral into the Dark Ages by the simple method of removing all their printed music. Memorizing a couple of thousand chants not only took half a lifetime to achieve, it also had one or two serious drawbacks. The